Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. In today's editorial, you're going to learn about 10 to 12 words. Some of those words are mitigate, implicit, constraints, divergence, sphere, and fragile. Besides these words, you're going to work on the regular practice questions based on exam topics. Now, let us go to the editorial and see what is there to learn. But before that, I would like to talk about the practice questions based on exam topics. Today, you're going to work on errors and word swap. Word swap means change of words position. This is an important topic. And also, you're going to work on para-jumble, fillers, idioms, as usual, editorial words. Now, let us go to the editorial and see what is there to learn from this editorial. How does it start? Time for, oh, I'm sorry. It starts with time for action. Time for action means what? One has to get into action, cannot be idle, cannot wait for something to happen. Time for action, something has to be done. What is the main idea of this editorial? The G20 meeting has come at a critical moment for the global political economy. This is all about the G20 meeting, and after the meeting, the communique issued by the G20 leaders. And what is this G20? It is a group of 19 countries, and the 20th one is European Union. Together, we use G20 nations. So the G20 meeting, it's all about the G20 meeting, what exactly they discussed in the meeting, and based on that, the communique issued by the leaders of G20 that talks about four aspects. So one is the pandemic, second is climate change, third is a tax on international multinational companies, and the fourth one, economic recovery. The entire editorial talks about the four aspects, but it starts with the meeting, the background information provided, and also the communique, what exactly the focus is on. The G20 meeting has come at a critical moment. Critical moment, you have got the word many a time. What does it mean? Important moment for the global political economy. At their first in-person meeting in 2 years, they're meeting this meeting after 2 years, a gap of 2 years. At their first in-person meeting in 2 years, leaders of the G20 did not shy away. Shy away is an important expression. It's a phrasal verb. It means to avoid, did not shy away, did not avoid from re engaging with the biggest issues facing the global community today. What are these biggest issues facing the global community today, including the COVID 19 pandemic, climate change, a major tax agreement, and steps to address concerns regarding global economic growth and stability? As I said, this editorial talks about the G20 meeting, what exactly they discussed in the meeting, and based on that, the communique issued. And this communique, a public statement, usually a press released in the press meet, it talks about four dimensions. One is the pandemic, impact of pandemic, how to recover, and what has to be done. Still so much to be done. Second, it talks about climate change, what steps have to be taken. Third, it talks about a major tax agreement, especially on international or multinational companies. It also talks about the global economic growth. So these are the four aspects. Here, there's one word, address. You all know the meaning of the word address. Address, everyone knows, but here it talks about address has got two or three meanings. In this context, it means to give attention to or deal with a matter or problem. In this context, it means deal with a particular problem or handle a particular problem. So this talks about a lengthy sentence but easy to understand. It talks about these G20 leaders. They have met after a gap of 2 years, and they did not shy away from re-engaging. That means they wanted to commit themselves uh, based on the biggest issues facing the global community today. And the sentence talks about the four major issues. Then the editor takes each one and tries to provide the information. On coordinated, what is the first one? It is related to the pandemic. Now you come across information, what exactly they decided based on the pandemic problem. On coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic, coordinated, doing something together. Coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic. We have got the word mitigate many a time. What does it mean? Make something less severe, serious, or painful. And what are the related words? We have seen many a time. Alleviate, assuage, mitigate, reduce, they all mean the same. On coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic, the focus was on vaccine production and distribution. Again, when we talk about the pandemic, two things are very important. One is vaccine production, and the other one, distribution. Both the aspects are very important. So here it talks about on coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic. The focus was on, excuse me, the focus was on vaccine production and distribution with assurances of support to World Health Organization's target of inoculating 40% or more of the global population against COVID-19 by 2021 and at least 70% by mid 2022. So this talks about a particular target, and based on the target, to achieve that target, definitely coordinated efforts are required. So it talks about the coordinated efforts to mitigate or reduce the impact of the pandemic. And based on that, the intention, the focus is on one is vaccine production, the other one distribution. And also the sentence talks about specific targets. One is inoculating 40% or more of the global population against COVID-19 by 2021 and at least 70% by mid 2022. These are the targets. And to achieve these targets, definitely coordinated efforts are required. Then it talks about the implicit assumption in this commitment. So, what something is implied in this commitment by G20 nations? What is that implicit assumption? There is one word over here, implicit. What does it mean? Suggested, though not directly expressed. When it comes to passage, I usually use two words. They ask questions based on explicit information. They ask questions based on implicit information. Explicit means it is there in the passage. You can easily answer questions based on explicit information. But sometimes what happens, something is not mentioned, but reading between the lines, you should be able to grasp. It is mentioned, it is indicated indirectly. Then we use the word implicit. Explicit, direct, implicit, indirect. And these two words you have to know when it comes to reading the passage and understanding the questions, answering the questions. What is the implicit assumption here? The implicit assumption in this commitment by G20 leaders is that initiatives to boost the supply of vaccines in developing countries will succeed and cooperation will help the world overcome supply and financing constraints. Usually, what happens when it comes to the vaccine, any particular vaccine, there are two constraints. Constraint means a limitation, a restriction. One is production of the vaccine, that itself is a major constraint. Excuse me. The second constraint, once you produce a vaccine, we have to distribute and we need the supply chain for that. So, this is the second dimension. Here it talks about the implicit assumption in this commitment by G20 leaders is that initiatives to boost the supply of vaccines in developing countries will succeed. That means there's going to be some sort of cooperation, and cooperation will help the world. That cooperation will help the world overcome supply and financing constraints. These two constraints. Usually, these are the constraints we come across. Now, as I said, this editorial talks about four major ideas. One is pandemic related, over. Now it talks about the second one, climate change. On climate change, the group leaders recommitted their nations to providing 100 billion US dollars a year toward adaptation, mitigation, and green technologies, focusing on the needs of developing countries. Again, when it comes to developed countries and developing countries, here it talks about developed countries, the promise. What is it? Recommitment. On climate change, the group leaders recommitted their nations to providing 100 US billion dollars a year towards what? Adaptation, mitigation, and green technologies, all related to climate change and reducing the impact of the climate change. focusing on the needs of the developing countries. So all these are very important. At the same time, they have to focus on the needs of developing countries. However, the word however expresses contrasting information. However, in this sphere, there's one word sphere. Sphere has many meanings, but in this context, it means area of activity. However, in this sphere, a divergence of views still exists across developing and developed nations. That means they are not on the same plane, or they don't have the same wavelength. However, in this sphere, a divergence, another important word you all must be knowing. Recently, we have got the word convergence. Converge, unite, diverge, to go in different directions. The situation in which two things become different. However, in this sphere, a divergence of views still exists across developing and developed nations. What is that divergence of views? Ahead of this summit and the 2021 climate conference in Glasgow, India had rejected the call to announce a target of zero emissions. It talks about that. Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears to have scored a victory. So he talks about the PM looks like, appears to. It means what? Seems to or looks like. Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears to have scored a victory, achieved success. In this regard, as a post summit communique, there's one important word communique, means what? An official announcement or statement, especially one made to the media. As a post summit, how can we say the Prime Minister appears to have scored a victory? As a post summit communique commits the G20 to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius and not zero, uh, and identified sustainable and responsible consumption and production as critical enablers. So, this is some, in a way, achievement or accomplishment. It talks about uh, communique commits the G20 to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius and identify two things. One is sustainable and responsible consumption. The word sustainable, now it is in the limelight for the last 20 years. In fact, whenever we talk about environment, we use the word sustainable practices, sustainable goals. Means what? Sustainability means using available resources in a wise way and not exploiting the resources, using the resources in such a way that the future generations, they can also have the resources. Sustainable and responsible consumption. Responsibility is very important. And production as critical enablers. The world, now it comes to the post pandemic impact on the economy and what has happened globally speaking, economies of different countries. The world community is on shakier footing, means not very strong. The world community is on shakier footing regarding the fragile post COVID economic recovery underway after paralyzing lockdowns. Paralyzing lockdowns, look at the expression. Lockdown, in a way, it is like paralysis. We can't go out, we can't do anything. So, after this paralyzing lockdowns, many economies got, at the time of, because of the lockdowns, many economies got badly affected. And after the lockdown, slowly they started recovering. And this situation is rather fragile. There's one important word, though we have got many a time. Fragile means what? One is delicate, another meaning easily broken or damaged. The world community is on shakier footing regarding the fragile post COVID economic recovery underway after paralyzing lockdowns. Based on that, unsurprisingly, not surprisingly, given the rising inflation, spiking energy prices, and alarming supply chain bottlenecks, all these things happened because of the pandemic. Unsurprisingly, given the rising inflation, spiking energy prices, spiking means increasing, and alarming supply chain bottlenecks. Supply chain very important. Bottleneck we have got many a time. A problem that delays progress. Bottleneck you can also use words like hurdles, hindrances, and also something that stops. G20 leaders were quick to affirm that national stimulus policies would not be removed prematurely. Many countries have initiated the stimulus policies to make the economy, to put the economies back on track. So, based on that, excuse me, G20 leaders were quick to affirm that national stimulus policies would not be removed prematurely. They will not touch national stimulus policies and they will not be removed prematurely. Even so, it would remain a challenge to walk the tightrope between preserving financial stability and fiscal sustainability. There are two dimensions one should always consider. One is financial stability. The other one, fiscal. Fiscal also related to money, financial aspects. Sustainability. Both are very important. Even so, it would remain a challenge to walk the tightrope. This is an important expression. Impediments, that's right. To walk the tightrope. To walk the tightrope means to be on in a difficult situation and between the preserving financial stability and fiscal sustainability. Perhaps in a bid, now it comes to the next dimension. What is it? Taxing related. Perhaps in a bid to avoid potentially debilitating wobbles in global finance. There are two words over here. One is debilitating. That is an important word. Making someone or something physically weak. And wobble means to shake or move from side to side in a way that shows poor balance. Someone is not balanced, a little shaky, and walks that way. Then we use the word wobbling. Perhaps in a bid to avoid potentially debilitating wobbles in global finance, the G20 leadership agreed to slap multinationals with a minimum 15% tax to create a more stable and fairer international tax system. As I said, one of the dimensions dealing with the multinational companies and imposing tax. This sentence talks about to handle the fragile international or global financial situation. They have decided to slap multinationals, big companies, with a minimum 15% tax to create a more stable and fairer international tax system. And what is the impact of this? This would impact the tech titans of Silicon Valley. Obviously, today we talk about the multinational companies. Many of them are IT companies, and many of these IT companies are in the Silicon Valley. So this sentence talks about the impact of this 15% tax, international tax system. It is going to make an impact on, this would impact the tech titans. Titan, we all know the watch company, but here Titan, a person or a company who is or which is very important, powerful, strong, big, clever, etc. So here, this would impact the tech titans of Silicon Valley. The big companies of Silicon Valley are usually IT companies, as this initiative would make it harder for such companies to benefit from locating themselves in relatively lower tax jurisdictions. The reason behind, today we talk about multinational companies, we talk about tech giants and titans. Many of these companies, they have branches all over the world. Why should they have branches all over the world? One of the reasons, it makes a business sense. When they establish the branch in a particular company, imagine that is not a developed country but a developing country. Obviously, they will enjoy lower tax jurisdictions, and that makes a business sense. Because of that, today you have many IT companies, tech giants, they have branches all over the world. So, this would impact the tech titans of Silicon Valley, as this initiative would make it harder for such companies to benefit from locating themselves in relatively lower tax jurisdictions. Based on this, they may not think of establishing branches in different parts of the world. This OECD, it's an organization. This OECD led reform enjoys the support of 136 countries, which account for more than 90% of global GDP, and is likely to enter into force in 2023 or after. Not immediately. It is going to be implemented in 2023. Nations such as the US are divided on whether to approve this proposal domestically. And unless there is unanimity amongst the discussants, the initiative risks facing implementation delays. This talks about the US, because many of these IT companies are located in the US, whether to implement this domestically or not, they are in two minds. It talks about that. Nations such as the US are divided, not uniform, divided on whether to approve this proposal domestically, internationally accepted, but whether to accept domestically or not, they are, there is a divided opinion. They are in two minds. And unless there is unanimity amongst the discussants, usually we know the word discussion, and this word is related to that. Discussion means a method or way of doing something. Amongst the discussants, the initiative risks facing implementation delays. They have taken the decision, but there's a risk. What is that risk? Implementation delay. It may take a lot of time. That is a risk related to this particular decision. The G20, how does it end? The G20 meeting has come at a critical moment. Reiteration of the main idea, the G20 meeting has come at a critical moment for the global political economy. Critical moment, important moment. If it results in timely, effective, and coordinated action across major nations, hope for recovery will remain afloat. That means what? This is critical moment, and if they coordinate and this results in effective coordinated action across major nations, then definitely the hope that everything is going to be all right or positive, hope for recovery will remain afloat. Means it is the hope is going to be there. We don't have to give up. It ends on that particular note. Now, what are the possible questions we can think of? What is this editorial about, as usual? And the second one, leaders of the G20 did not shy away from what? They did not shy away from something. What is that? On coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic, what was the focus on? In the meeting, one of the dimensions focused on the to mitigate the impact of the pandemic. On coordinated efforts to mitigate the pandemic, what was the focus on? Again, yesterday also I told, try to focus on the key words, navigate, locate, you can answer. What is the implicit assumption, keywords, in this commitment by G20 leaders? Implicit assumption. Based on that, you have to navigate. Why did the G20 leadership agree to slap multinationals with a minimum 15% tax? What is the reason behind? You have to again read at the fag end of the editorial. It talks about this particular dimension. What is it? Imposing 15% tax on tech titans or tech giants or multinational companies and 80% IT companies, obviously. I appreciate those who are writing the answers. I really appreciate. That's good. Keep it up. Now, today, what is the enrichment from exam point of view? What are the practice questions based on exam topics? You are going to work on 5 sentences, error location, not easy, lengthy sentences, and you're going to work on word swap. Again, under pressure, a bit difficult. You're going to work on para jumble, fillers, single fillers, not double, I think double fillers. And you're going to work on idioms. And as usual, you're going to work on editorial words and meanings matching. Now let us go to the first set. Error location, 5 questions. Each one looks, at least 3 questions. You see each sentence looks like a paragraph. So you got to read very carefully. Sai Pavan, after the session, you go to the description of the video. There you see Murthy's English, the link to the Telegram channel. Editorial voice, it is analytical, not narration, not subjective. This is not subjective, purely analysis. What happened in the meeting and what is a communique? The communique, what does it talk about? 4 dimensions. One is pandemic, second is recovery, third is tax, and the fourth one, it is about yes, that is right. Climate change, the fourth one. No one has responded. Question number 1. Perhaps you guys are busy reading, providing. Let others also respond. Excuse me. No time-bound agreements were reached as leaders of the world's top economies ended the summit in Rome, recommitting to providing 100 billion US dollars a year to counter climate change and pushed for greater vaccine equality to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. No, that is not. Recommitting to providing, nothing wrong. Recommit to. This too goes with recommit. Recommitting, no, that is not correct, Sai. No, no, all of you please listen. A lot of students think after to, it should be the verb in the basic form. Not always. We have prepositional combinations. Sometimes what happens, dedicated to, committed to, recommitted to. Here the preposition to goes with the verb. And based on that, after that you have to have a noun. Here providing is not a verb, it is a noun. Verb, ing form used as a noun, we call it gerund. So nothing wrong with that. Yes, that is right, Ramesh. Recommitting to providing, nothing wrong with that. No, there is an error, not an easy one. Recommitting to what? You should always ask questions. Recommitting to what? Recommitted to what? Dedicated to what? So, recommitting to one, providing 100 billion US dollars a year to counter climate change, and pushing. Here it is not pushed, pushing for greater vaccine equality to fight the COVID 19 pandemic. This question is based on what I call parallel expression. What is it based on? Parallel expression. Recommitted to two things, providing 100 billion US dollars and pushing for greater vaccine. Recommitted to pushing, recommitted to providing. Answer, there is an error in the last part. Pushed is not correct, pushing is correct. Yes, Nagamaleshwari, why that question mark? That is the right word. Providing, pushing, parallel expression. And always, I keep telling students, don't have fixed ideas when it comes to English. Learn the basics well. And if you take, I have been telling you guys, this is not the right approach. If you take this approach, you will have these problems. After two, you should have V1. What is that? I don't understand. That is not the way. You have to know every verb has five forms. And here, this preposition is not related to the word next to it. It is related to the verb dedicate to, recommit to, commit to, with a view to. All these, after that, you need a noun. Here, noun is providing and pushing. Do remember, this is very dangerous. If you go for shortcuts or all these expressions, you lose 1 mark in the exam, not at all advisable. That is the reason why I tell students, many students may not like. I don't believe in shortcuts. Hard work is a prerequisite, and there's no substitute for hard work. When you learn, we learn only once, learn well. And if you don't learn well, you may come across these problems. In the exam, 1 year hard, a lot of effort based on these fixed ideas, you may lose marks. That should not happen. Yes, one more use to, in addition to. There are about 10 combinations, very important. Please go to this one. This is also like a paragraph, not easy. Ramesh, today you're going to get Ramesh, and all of you listen. Tonight I'm starting on my channel, Murthy's English, Murthy's. I'm starting bank related papers, exclusive bank exams point of view. In a way, mock test, you can say, 9 p.m. from today, every night. And today I'll be doing introduction, 9 p.m. In that session, I'm going to give the 50 topics, Ramesh. Yesterday I had a hectic schedule. I could not do it. Tonight, try to attend 9 p.m. session. It's those who are interested in bank exams, bank exams, SBI PO, IBPS PO. The questions are going to be based on new patterns and higher level, not the basic level, a little higher level. Nirmala says, fourth part, what is it? Close to, please write what exactly the error is. Close to 9 lakh fishermen are on the contact list. That is right. For what purpose? Getting daily messages on their mobile phones on potential fishing sites and at what depths the catch is available, with data based on sea surface temperatures, chlorophyll, and sea current is not correct. We have to use currents here, noun in plural form. Plural form. Water currents, not current. Sea currents means 8 o'clock every day, 7 o'clock every morning, 7 sharp. So plural form, sea current, but generally we say water currents. The movement of water, large body of water, under underwater currents. Yes, yes, all competitive exams useful, Ganesh. Very useful for any competitive exam. Based on exam topics, all competitive exams very useful. So water currents, we don't say water current. Temperatures, chlorophyll, and sea currents. Not easy. Let us go to question number 3. Temperature. Some students think we cannot use the word temperature in the plural form. That is not correct. Temperatures you can use in the plural form. Nothing wrong with that. Temperatures, chlorophyll, and sea currents. Grammar is the same for all competitive exams. These questions are based on grammar knowledge and they are important for any competitive exam for that matter. Words also, same thing. The incident comes on the heels of an operation in Mulugu district exactly 4 weeks back, raising serious concerns about the safety of big cats, that means tigers, in the reserve forests of Telangana. On the heels of a standard phrase comes on the heels of after some incident. Nothing wrong with that. No, no, Yashashvi. On the heels of perfect. Who is this? Kiran Kumar, very good. I really appreciate. Let others also respond. We'll see. Not an easy one. There is an error in the second part. Kiran Kumar has got it right. No, no, sentence is not correct. It's a common error. What is it? 4 weeks back. You cannot use the word back here. 4 weeks ago. You have to say 4 weeks ago, not back. That's a common error. I appreciate Kiran Kumar, not easy. And what is this based on? Common error. Please make a note. Common error. People say 2 days back, 1 month back, not correct. 1 month ago and 4 weeks ago. That is the right, correct expression. He gave the instructions during a video conference he conducted with the election officers to review the arrangements being made for counting of votes casted in the by poll. Immediately after, I have just explained, Ganesh, on the heels, something comes on the heels of means some incident happened. Immediately after that incident, something happens. Then we say it came on the heels of, means after that particular incident or event. Where is the error? This is an easy one, should not be a problem. He gave the instructions during a video conference he conducted. Very good. Madhav has got it right. First one to respond. I want some more students to respond, then I will give the answer. He gave the instructions, nothing wrong. During a video conference he conducted with the election officers to review what purpose? To review the arrangements being made for counting of votes. Casted is not correct, it should be cast. In English, a few verbs they have the same form: cut, put, cast, telecast, broadcast, cost. All these verbs you have to recollect. There's nothing like casted, only cast, telecast, broadcast, and cost. Very important. Go to the last one, question number 5. Schools, he said, should ensure that crowding was controlled, physical distancing between students were maintained, and classrooms and surroundings were clean. Forecast, broadcast, cast, telecast, and cost, same forms. Yes, yes, that is wrong. Have you cast your vote? You should not say casted. That is a point, Prasad. That's what I've just said. Very good. Again, I see Kiran Kumar, first one to get. Here, schools, he said, should ensure that crowding, noun, singular, was controlled. Physical distancing, noun, between students, that's a phrase, were not correct, was maintained, and classrooms and surroundings were clean. Here we have two subjects. So it is based on subject verb agreement. Close on the heels of ignominious defeat, Team India was criticized by all and sundry. Very good example. Now let us go to word swap. You see four words in red. They may be in the correct position, may not be. Any two words you have to touch, or two pairs, or one pair, and you have to swap. Word swap means you have to exchange. Yes, it is based on subject verb agreement. Please read question number 1 based on word swap. 3 out of 5. Today the questions are not easy. Error location not easy. Lengthy sentences and under pressure very difficult. 3, you should be happy. Yes, here we cannot use compromised in any form can put children. That does not make any sense. You have to use malnutrition in any form can put children and adolescents at risk of compromised immune function, thus making them vulnerable to infections. We have to change A, C. C should go to A position, A should go to today is my day. Please go to the second sentence. The recent ganja users will be caught since it is next to impossible to buy ganja now. We offer counseling to those deterred with ganja or while trying to buy it. 1 and 3, that is right. Please go to the next one, second one. AD, very good. Who is this? Balu Nayak and Yashasvi. Here, the recent ganja users will be deterred. Deterred means stopped, prevented, discouraged. Since it is next to impossible to buy ganja, next to impossible, an important phrase, do remember to buy ganja now. We offer counseling to those caught with ganja and or while trying to buy it. Here we have to change AD, will be deterred, and here to those caught with AD. Very good. Within no time. The key fact that the database highlights is that it is only fair that developed countries must commit to curbing targets towards steeper emissions than developing countries. Third sentence, what is it? No one has responded. Sentence number 3, word swap. CD. The key fact that the database highlights, database singular, highlights verb, no problem, is that it is only fair that developed countries, nothing wrong, must commit to curbing targets. No, we have to say steeper targets towards curbing emissions, controlling emissions than developing countries. Here we have to change CD. That's right. Perfect. The Indian Railways has decided to go ahead with the feasible of its schools and merge students with either Kendriya Vidyalayas or state government schools as closure. Now, third one you have to change Pritham. CD. Third and fourth word should be swapped. The Indian Railways has decided, has we need a verb in past participle form, nothing wrong, to go ahead with the feasible of its school, no. Closure of its schools and merge students, nothing wrong, with either Kendriya Vidyalayas or state government schools as feasible. So here it is B, D. B and D should be swapped. Feasible means possible. Let us go to para jumble. You got to, if you get this right, you should be very happy. This is not an easy one. You have to read carefully. You may get feasible, viable, possible, commercially feasible means commercially viable means commercially possible. We talk about bank, any project, we use the word, is it commercially feasible or viable or possible? Please go to the para jumble and take elimination approach. Four is good, not very difficult. Sindhuja, still I appreciate. 1C, okay. I will write here, it pronoun cannot be the first one. You can consider B, C, and cannot be the first one. You can consider data. But here, last month, Death Worthy, a mental health perspective of the death penalty, an important report by Project 39A, based at the National Law University, Delhi, was published. C, very good. You guys got it right. I appreciate. And second one is very easy. No, not E, not E. One is C, obviously. Here, two is, second sentence is A. How can we say that there's a pronoun? It talks about this report. It explores the mental health concerns of death row prisoners, the intellectual disabilities they have, and the psychological impact on being on death row. CA1 group, easy to get, assured. Now the problem here, the third one. If you get the third one correct, you are on the track. 4, 5, very easy. CAE, E is not the third one. No, 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 no. Listen to my words, not easy. I said third sentence is a deciding one. If you don't get the third one right, then what happens? 3, 4, 5. You lose 3 marks. You cannot get. So read carefully. E is not the third one. Here, no, no, you all have the same wavelength. B is the third one, not B. First, it started with the death penalty and related to that, the concerns. Then it comes to Indian context. India remains among the 55 retentionist countries, retentionist countries where the death penalty is still handed down for certain crimes. In many countries, death penalty has been abolished. Capital punishment has been abolished. This is the trickiest one. If you get this one, 4, 5 easy. Data on how many death row prisoners have mental health conditions and or intellectual disabilities are hard to come. And so this report helps to improve our understanding of this much neglected topic. ED, not a problem. So this report, that is the last sentence. But getting B as a third one is the most important thing. I don't know how many of you have got this correct order. I appreciate those who have got it right. Now you have double fillers, not that difficult. Have a look. All the five correct. That's very good, Balu Naik. Please go to double fillers and try to get. It is very difficult to get the third one because in between, all of a sudden, today is my day again, Ramesh. Tonight it is going to be your day, 9 p.m. I assure you. Attend the session. Three, okay. After being taken away from his parents the boy had a very life, yes, taken away from parents at a young age seems right, a standard phrase. At an early, grammatically not correct. Small age, that is not contextually not the right combination. Yes, of course, I did for 4 years, 4 to 5 years. Now I am with an academy. Tender age, that's a very good expression. Tender coconut, tender age. But it does not go. It you can consider tender age, nothing wrong with that. Excuse me. Here, young age you can consider, early no, small no, tender you can consider, advanced age boy you cannot use. You have to decide between the first one and the fourth one. The boy had a very difficult life, seems right. Deterrent life. Deterrent does not go with 9 p.m. 9 p.m. 9 p.m. not 9 a.m. So answer is a first option. After being taken away from his parents at a young age, the boy had a very difficult life. I think almost all the students have got it right. 9 p.m. my channel, this channel, Murthy's, not an academy channel, my channel. Morning 7 a.m. the Hindu Editorial Analysis. Night 9 p.m. bank related, in a way, mock tests. The statement said that the conference would be a considerable time. The global economic crisis would be having, you cannot use the word having here, passing, not acceptable, spending, you can consider, expending, no, exhausting, would be exhausting a considerable time, not acceptable. So, what is the answer here? The statement said that the conference would be spending a considerable time doing what? Discussing the global economic crisis. Answer is the third option. I think again a lot of students they have got it right. Thank you, Das. After having the news of their son's excellent result in exams, they came over as possible. Go to the third one. After having enjoyed as earlier as possible, as early as possible would have been better. Surprised, having surprised the news, having been surprised by the news would have been correct. Having been shocked by the news would have been correct. There we have to use a passive form. After having realized the news of their son's excellent result in exams, they came. No, let me go to quickly is okay. I was thinking of something. No, no. Give me a second. After having enjoyed the news, you can consider. After having heard, you can consider. Surprised, no. Shocked, no. Realized, no. Here, after having heard, that goes with two actions in the past. First one, we use this expression. After having heard the news of their son's excellent result in exams, They came over as quickly as possible. Second option is the answer. Second option is the answer, beyond any doubt. Now, I was thinking of something. So, it is a second option, beyond any doubt. I see the messages. Sometimes I go a little. His friend, only three questions here based on double fillers. Now, what time is it? We have 10 minutes. Try to answer quickly. Five idioms. His friend turned out to be snake in the grass. What does it mean? Snake in the grass. No, it is not the second option. No, no, not hidden enemy. Yes, Kiran Kumar has got it right. Here, cowardly and brutal, not correct. Hidden enemy, not correct. An unreliable and deceitful person. Answer is the third option. No, first one, third option. Only one or two students have got it right. No, no, third option. I'm going to stay at home because I'm feeling under the weather today. Feel under the weather. Irritated? No, no. Second one, what is the answer for the second one? I'm going to stay at home because what is the reason? I'm feeling under the weather. Under the weather, feel under the weather means or be under the weather, depressed, irritated. Answer is sick, not well. It means not well, feeling sick. His boss was always breathing down his neck. I have given the answer already. Jyoti, deceitful person, one who cheats, but you can't make out. I've given the answer. An unreliable and deceitful person. Unreliable, you cannot trust. Deceitful, someone who cheats. So his boss was always breathing down his neck. Answer is watching all his actions closely. Shouting, not correct. Strenuous work, difficult work, not correct. Abusing, abuse has many meanings. Ill treating, not correct. To speak one's mind, what is the answer? Watching closely, that's right. To speak one's mind, to be frank and honest, to think aloud, to talk about one's ideas, to express one's thoughts. Yes, it means to speak one's mind, to be frank and honest. Answer is the first option. Yes, that's right. The last one. This is an important one, bank exams point of view, very important. Excuse me. Yes, off color, feeling poorly. That's right, Madhav. He cut the Gordian knot. This is an important one. They have given in SBI many a time. By practicing what he preached, it is not a lesson, it is not remove the difficulty. The exact meaning of this, to solve a difficult problem. Someone solves a difficult problem, then we use this, remove the difficulty. Answer is the third option. Now let us work on editorial words quickly. It's already 7:54. Mitigate, verb. So what does it mean? Mitigate. One, yes, it is reduce, alleviate, assuage, mitigate, reduce. So answer is C. Implicit information, explicit information means what? Adjective. Important when it comes to answering questions related to passage. You have to, you should have the ability to judge what is explicit, what is implicit. So implicit means what? Not directly expressed. Answer is E. Constraint singular, constraints plural. That means noun. What does it mean? Limitations. Yes, F is the answer. Today, you guys are responding within no time, quickly. Divergence, noun. Divergent, adjective form. So, what does it mean? Implicit, opposite, explicit. Go to the fourth one. G. Becoming different. That is true. Sphere. Different spheres, a particular sphere. Noun. J. Area of activity. Sports arena, sports sphere, political sphere. So answer is J. Fragile we have got so many times. Fragile situation, fragile personality. What does it mean? H. Delicate, exactly. Fragile, brittle, delicate, easily broken, all related words. Communique, you have to be careful with pronunciation of that particular word. It is a noun, a press statement, official statement, usually released in a press meet. Answer is I. Bottleneck, singular, bottlenecks, plural. That means it is a noun. Bottleneck, a problem that delays, hurdle, hindrance, impediment, block, all these. Answer is B. Debilitating, an important word. Usually it goes with buildings as well. Debilitating, dilapidated, another important word. Means what? Make someone or something weak. Where is it? Making weak. An important word. Do remember. Debilitating, dilapidated. Answer is D. Titan. We all know the word Titan, Titan watches. But here, Titan's noun. Important person. An important person. But in the context of the editorial, an important company. Answer is A, an important person or an important company, but here important company. That's all. And do remember, whenever you work on vocabulary, some words are easy, some words belong to, oh, wonderful, I appreciate. Some words belong to the twilight zone, some words very difficult. Whichever word you find difficult, spend some time, make your own examples. Only then you can remember and try to revise regularly. Many of these words are easy, but this you have to focus on. Uh, these are all we have got many a time. This you have to focus on. This you have to focus on. And tighten a new meaning you have to focus on. That's all for today. Hope you guys have got enriched. Thanks for being with me till 7:58. I will see you guys at 9 p.m. Those who are bank aspirants, for them, that session is going to be very useful. And you all know I will work on, I'm going to bring important questions, difficult questions, and the focus will be on new patterns. Today, 2016 onwards, just give me 2 minutes. I've got something to say. 16 onwards, bank exams, they've been going. I started telling way back in 2016, I told students, bank exams slowly they are going in the direction of CAT exam. What is this CAT? Common Admission Test for to get into IIMs. So here English is not that easy because of so much competition, cutthroat competition. The number goes up year after year. Bank exams they have become rather difficult, and we talk about new patterns quite often. These new patterns, my channel Nagamaleshwari Murthy's, this channel, same channel, based on CAT exam. So we are going to focus on new patterns and higher level questions, not the regular stuff. Please, all of you, it is going to be on my channel, Murthy's, this channel, and it is at 9 p.m.